This is the third time that I have rebranded my podcast. So previously it was called Binti wa Yesu, and then later on it was called Murembo Moments. And now I decided that it should be the Living Fully podcast. Yeah. Yes, so welcome to the Living Fully podcast, and this is your host, Upendo Masenga, and welcome. And if you've been here a while, welcome back, and thank you for rocking with me all these years. I remember started getting into podcasts around 2019, and back then I didn't know exactly what I wanted to talk about in the long run, but I knew I loved to speak, and I knew I loved to talk about God. I knew that I loved to talk about singleness. And over the years I've grown, I have, changed, transformed in many ways. I'm not the same person I have been all those years ago. And I'm grateful for all these reroutes all these years. Now, it doesn't mean that I haven't felt insecure for being the person that changes the podcast every now and then. I mean, I've felt that every single time. And while I might have let it kind of discourage me and make me to, pause and sometimes pause for a very long time, I am still grateful that I am able to obey and do what I feel I am called to do via the podcast, okay? So, what is the Living Fully podcast? For a while, like I said, I knew that I loved to talk about singleness, about purpose, about God, and it came a point where I felt like I was boxing myself, like I was limiting myself to these specific areas, and I would feel the need to talk about something else that is not within these areas, and I would feel like, wait, I'm not supposed to talk about such and such a thing or such and such a topic. It's not my area. I am all about singleness, purpose, and that's all. But whenever I deprived my soul from speaking about these issues, I would feel like when I stopped myself from doing that, I would feel deprived. I would feel like I should talk about this, but I have struggled with the following two things for a very long time, and this is very vulnerable for me to share, but again, one day I'll be held accountable for what I did and what I did not do, and I don't want to be held accountable. I don't want to disappoint God, rather, by not speaking the truth, by not being open, by not being vulnerable, I guess. So I have struggled for a very long time with perfectionism and imposter syndrome. Now, I understand that some people might not understand what these words mean, but basically in layman terms, in layman language, like a very simple language, perfectionism, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Perfectionism is when you always want things to be perfect. You don't want to do something or say something that is not, squeaky. Okay, it's not squeaky clean, but something that is not, fully prepared, well prepared. And imposter syndrome is when you feel like you are a fraud. That's the best way I can explain it. You feel like you're not the right person. You're not the professional, I guess, sometimes for, to talk about something or to do something. You feel like you're not the right person. Like you're not, like eventually people will figure out that you're not the person for whatever it is you're doing or you're pursuing. So that's the best way I can explain imposter syndrome. And If anyone else has an easier way to explain it, please share it in the comments. So I have struggled with perfectionism, with imposter syndrome for a very, very, very long time, and it's one of the things that has made me to, kind of not make the necessary changes when it comes to the podcast, the things that I knew that I needed to talk about, the things that I knew that I was feeling, I was pulled or led to talk about. And so I can say, for the most part, my delay in doing the things that I trust and believe that I will now pursue fully has been caused by these two things. Perfectionism, because I felt like I didn't have the proper resources, like I didn't have all the resources. I felt that I need a proper microphone. I felt that I needed a camera. I thought the gadgets, the technical resources, and sometimes it would even be myself, like I am not good enough. I would feel like, no, I'm not the person to do this. And I think it kind of speaks to the imposter syndrome. I would ask myself, who would listen to me? Like, who am I? It's not like I got everything together. It's not like I know it all. It's not like I know everything. And, sometimes I would think that, there is already a lot of voices out there speaking about the things that I want to speak about, doing the things that I want to do. And recently, I felt that, it's not right. It's not right. It's not right knowing that I need to do something. I know that God is calling me to do something, to talk about some things, and me not doing so. So, yeah, this is me coming back, fully rebranded. Nothing fancy, I guess it's just the name change and the things that I will be talking about. I will no longer limit myself to just singleness, to just purpose. I want to talk many things. I want to talk about many more things. I want to talk about dating, and especially Christian dating. I want to talk about self-development, personal development for women, but from the biblical perspective. I want to talk about so much more. And for me, I think it was early this year when I knew that it was no longer about, I'm talking about my singleness journey now. I came to the conclusion that I shouldn't wait for, a certain phase of life to happen, or for me, I shouldn't wait for a certain phase of life for me to experience. Okay, let me rephrase that. I shouldn't wait for a certain milestone, and then in this case, marriage, to be able to experience a rich and a full life. I felt that the Lord was telling me that it's time to live a full life. When I say a full life, I mean doing all the things that God is calling you to do, pursuing every single thing you want and you enjoy, as long as it aligns with God's will and it's not a sin. Fully living. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but I felt led to do that. And not just to do that in my own life, like doing that in my life, but also to share this with other people and encourage other people to do the same, to encourage other women to do the same. And hence why I rebranded, and yeah, it's very disappointing, I guess, in a way. from January and it's December, that's when I'm actually doing that. Oh, Lord my God, please forgive me. Anyway, here is to doing things even when it feels like it's late, but you know what they say, better late than never. So that's what the Living Fully podcast is all about, and you can expect to hear a lot of things regarding personal development for women from a biblical point of view, from a biblical perspective. Okay? Yeah, so this is the end for today, for the introduction, and I hope to hear from you through the comments. Please share what you think, and are you living a full life? Are you living a rich life? Yeah, please share that. And don't forget to share if you have a better way of explaining imposter syndrome and perfectionism, and if it's something that you have experienced or you're struggling with. Yeah, please share that with us. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and talk to you next week. Bye-bye.